Welcome to Wine Library TV. I am your host, Gary Vaynerchuk. And this, my friends, is The Thunder Show, aka the internet's most passionate wine program. But today we take a little bit of a turn in a little bit of a different direction. I just think it came down to I didn't want to deal with the emails anymore asking for an absinthe show. So here we are. We are clearly very lucky to have a very special guest to talk about a subject matter that I'm not as familiar with. I've had some experience with, but definitely don't know the ins and outs as much as I do in the wine world, or let's say root beer or Jets football. So Brian, thanks so much for being on the show.
My pleasure. Thanks.
Why don't you tell the Vayniacs who you are and what we're going to do here today.
Great. My name is Brian Robinson. I am actually the review editor for the Wormwood Society, which is an absinthe education organization.
And where is that based out of?
The founder actually is out of Seattle, Washington.
Is he a Seahawks fan?
That much I couldn't tell you.
Right.
Yeah, but we're
Should
worldwide, so.
Okay.
So.
And how many people are part of the society?
Several thousand, but we have quite a few sort of active members, many of whom are actual producers of absinthe who join the Wormwood Society to get some critiques and some information on what sort of things they need to do to improve their brand. So
Sure.
we try to stay as unbiased as possible to give people whatever advice they need.
Now, how many absinthe brands are there in the U.S.?
Right now,
That let's say.
actively, there are 53 that are approved for sale in the United States.
And it's had a checkered past absinthe in the U.S., right?
Absolutely.
Give everybody a little bit of history. I know that's probably interesting for you guys to hear.
Absolutely. Well, absinthe itself was banned in the United States back in 1912, banned in France and several other countries throughout the world following that. There was
Because it made people crazy?
That's what the common misperception was.
Sure.
It was actually more due to prohibitionist types sentiments.
Activities.
Yeah, and the wine industry and the cognac industry were losing a lot of customers to absinthe, so they really needed to find a way to get rid of it. So they came up with some pseudoscientific studies and some stories and that sort of thing, and got absinthe banned. In 2007,
I'm so disgusted with people that have to compete in that kind of manner. So
Absolutely.
I'm disgusted at you at Wine Industry 1912.
Yeah, in 2007, it was again re-legalized in the United States. Several different people, interested parties, really were. They realized that absinthe didn't have those effects, and
Right.
And they saw it as a great opportunity to reintroduce it both in the States and in Europe and worldwide. So they petitioned the government, and after many thousands of dollars and many man-hours, the government finally started to review the current scientific studies that showed that absinthe wasn't really harmful, and they decided, okay, let's let it in.
How much bootlegging of absinthe was going on in that period in the U.S.?
That was one of the major arguments that the lawyers made to the government. They were saying, there is a lot of absinthe coming into the States already because people could buy it online. So they said, do you want a cut of this or not, basically? And
the government, in its normal routine, said yes.
Exactly.
Excellent. Okay.
So that's pretty much absinthe in a nutshell. The active component that people said made you go crazy is thujone.
And what is that?
Thujone is an active ingredient in wormwood, which is one of the main parts of absinthe. But what they found through some recent scientific studies was that thujone really didn't play an active role in any of those events, I guess, back in 1912 and earlier.
And what are those events? I mean, like people generally killing themselves, going crazy?
Right. They were...
All those things you hear?
Right. And most of it was done by end-stage alcoholics who were drinking absinthe straight and that sort of thing. And a lot of the side effects of what they called absinthism was actually just the DTs. These alcoholics who were going through alcohol withdrawal, having seizures and that sort of thing.
You should ban beer and vodka
and
gin
and
for the same
and
reasons.
everything. Absolutely.
Root beer.
Exactly.
Spiked.
Yes.
Okay.
So one of the common misperceptions is that the brands that are currently available in the United States actually have less wormwood in them. In fact, almost all the brands that are in the States right now use the same amount of wormwood in it as they did back during the Belle Epoque. So that is definitely a common misperception. There is a legal limit on the amount of thujone that can be in a bottle of absinthe, which is 10 parts per million, getting a little bit too in-depth there.
Getting nerdy, bro.
Exactly,
But
very
I like
nerdy.
it.
I do too.
We all need it, too. Because, I mean, I think a lot of people, that are fascinated by it. I'm fascinated. I'm listening because this is definitely a category I don't know as much about, so I appreciate it. So go ahead.
But in terms of some of the recent scientific studies, they showed that most of the brands back during the Belle Epoque actually still fell below both the EU limits and even the United States limits in terms of Thujon. So,
what are the countries that are most known for absinthe?
France and Switzerland, and to a lesser degree, the United States.
Okay.
New Orleans was a huge hotbed for absinthe back in the day.
Of course.
Absolutely. This brand actually is named after one of the streets in New Orleans, and there is another brand coming out called Nouvelle Orléans, which is French for New Orleans.
Yeah.
But it predominantly France and Switzerland, literally millions of people were drinking absinthe every day.
And since the EU reinstated it, around the same time or a little earlier?
A little bit earlier,
right?
yeah.
It was like 04, I remember.
Yeah, 04, 05, around that area.
It was a little earlier, I remember. What has happened in Europe? Has France and Switzerland recaptured some hype or no?
It's really kind of funny because a lot of the distilleries that are making some of the best absinthe are coming out of France and Switzerland. However, public sentiment of absinthe in France for a lot of people is still that same propaganda. Yeah, they were saying, "Oh no, that stuff makes you go crazy."
How about Germany? Is Germany consuming absinthe?
They are.
I feel like by palate, it feels like something that would do well there.
They have a different sort of version of absinthe that is more prominent in Eastern Europe, which is much more bitter. It's what's called Bohemian style absinthe. But there are several very good brands that come out of that area as well.
Okay. Now, your organization's main agenda is?
Main agenda is absinthe education, making sure that we dispel a lot of those myths.
Sure.
We encourage people to go to the website and take a look at
Let's link
our
that
FAQs, exactly. The FAQs and also the forum section where we have a lot of active
nerd
members.
Talk.
Definite nerd talk.
But fun.
But, very fun, yeah.
Good.
And as long as you come in there, you're well behaved, you'll be well received, and we'll answer any questions that you might
because
have.
Chris moderates a forum as well for us, and he throws down sometimes. Do you moderate the forum?
I am part of the moderating team. Yes.
Yes, we have a team now too, which is exciting for you, right, Matt? Okay, so let's get into the brands, and we've got a little secret over here.
Yes, we do.
Are you catching that on screen, Matt? No, don't. I was excited about that. All right, let's go. We're gonna go this way.
Yes.
So why don't you give us the basis of the ingredients of absinthe? Again, I want to really fill this with education. So what do we have here? Let's get the first brand.
That is Vieux Carré, which is done by the Philadelphia Distilling Company, the same people who make Blue Coat Gin.
Yep. 56 bones, suggested retail.
Exactly.
Okay.
You can get most of these on the same sort of places, same sort of websites, drinkupnewyork.com, so on and so forth. All absinthes really carry a lot of the same ingredients: anise, wormwood, fennel.
I love anise.
I
mean, if you don't like anise, you pretty much can't drink this, right?
Right. Yeah. There are some brands that will say, hey, we are an absinthe without the anise, but
They're
really...
not.
Yeah.
It's like wine without the grapes.
Exactly. You got it. So, but then the coloration herbs, things like melissa, coriander, petite wormwood.
Sally.
More commonly known as lemon balm.
Sure.
So this one actually has a lot of earthy tones to it from the fennel dew and a few other ingredients like that. Genepi.
So these were all prepared. We have some exclusive footage after the show ends. A little 4-minute preparation video. Matt, were you excited? Was it interesting?
It was.
You got into it?
His eyes were glazing over a little bit.
Was he starting to get sleepy? Tell us, how we get to this color.
This color, basically, it starts out clear like this. Then we add about an ounce to the bottom of a glass and fill it with typically 3 to 5 parts water and drip it over a spoon with some sugar. Get a little bit of balance of flavors with the sweetness from the sugar and the anise and the bitterness from the wormwood.
So how much of the actual?
About 1 ounce for a glass.
And so if you want to get hardcore, you can do 2 ounces?
Absolutely. You can do 2 ounces.
You can go straight to the face if you want.
Absolutely. You could. It'll blow out your taste buds completely,
right.
And you'll really not taste any of the nuances. But
what is the person that blends? Is that a mixologist? I mean, is there a term for the person that blends it?
Basically, in terms of the preparation,
yes,
distologist.
Distologist.
Yeah, most of the...
Do you consider yourself a distologist?
I do not prepare.
Okay.
I do not make any absinthe. I am just an unbiased review person. So
I see. That seemed very on the
diplomatic. You better believe it. Have to be. Have to be. But
is this a swirl play at all? Because you could see that I want to swirl. I mean,
go ahead and swirl.
No negative.
Taste it very similar to a wine. Yeah.
Oh man, see, this is I'm a huge licorice guy and things of that nature, so this is going to appeal to my palate quite a bit.
Absolutely, that's what I was hoping. You'll pick up a lot of that.
It's very herbaceous, yeah.
Absolutely, that's really the fennel and the genepi coming through.
God, this smells tremendous. I'm all about it.
Glad to hear.
You know, on the nose, you know, it's clearly, you know, that licorice thing that most people are going to associate this with. You know, sometimes you hear when I reviewed wine, I talk about real black licorice, I get excited. So, you know, if you don't like an East, you know, kind of style, I just don't see any way you can avoid not liking these if you don't like it.
Yep, that's what I tell people. I said, if you don't like licorice, you're not going to like absinthe.
But on the flip side, there is a lot more going on here than just that, especially on that herbaceous kick. Almost, in a weird way, almost like a little ricola kind of thing going on.
Absolutely.
You know?
You've got it. A lot of the same sort of herbs are in, you know, cough drops and that sort of thing. So you'll taste that, definitely.
All right, let's give it a whirl.
Okay.
Oh, man, I really like this. You know, now, this is a lot softer than I expected. Were you worried that maybe my palate wasn't ready for it, and you would say that it's more a soft play than most people will go?
Actually, this one has all of the normal attributes.
This is good, man. You want to try it? You don't like licorice.
Don't like it.
This one, the Genepi really does sort of tie things together. So it's a little bit smoother than some absinthes. But what you'll notice, too, is there's a major difference between distilled wormwood and macerated wormwood, which has something to do with something a little bit later today.
Okay, this is dangerous stuff. I'll be very honest with you. This is very easy drinking to me. Now, I've done some in the past. I don't know why this is a little smoother and a little cleaner. Maybe it's just good. You know,
Could be part of
it's
it.
what I think about. You know, it's almost like drinking a good vodka compared to the plastic bottle, $9.
Absolutely.
So I've had very limited experience, and I feel like I've had the $9 plastic play. I mean, I find this to be very good.
And that's part of
But
the issue.
I do feel it's a little bit watered down even for my palate. And so what I'm wondering, and I think it's important to put out there, would you say this was more on the softer play? Like you made this softer than you would have, let's say, if it's you and another hardcore absinthe drinker?
For me, I don't even use sugar. I've been drinking absinthe for over 15 years now, and my palate has been developed.
15, bro. What's going on here?
No, I've been around, believe me. But
How old are you?
32.
I understand.
So
17.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
But I was in Spain while I was doing it, so you know, legal drinking age a little bit different.
Spain, Texas.
So,
go ahead.
But yeah, this has a lot of it has to do with preparing to taste, because some people will do 3 parts water, some people do 5 parts water, some people will do it with sugar, some without. So
and what do you if you were to drink, or when you drink this at home now, where are you at now? 3 parts water, no sugar?
yeah, pretty much.
That's good, right?
Yeah,
I
absolutely.
felt it. So and this is 5 parts water with sugar.
This is about 4, yeah, with sugar.
Got it. Okay.
Yep. So, and a lot of times though, sugar will bring out some of the nuances. So I wanted to do it more the traditional method as opposed to what I'm used to.
I understand.
But yeah,
It's fantastic. It's a great little drink. I can see a lot of people liking that. I mean, that's very fan friendly.
absolutely.
To me, anybody who can get over the anise flavor is in on this.
That's
Just
kind of what I was
soft.
thinking.
This really feels like, you know, a Zima. It's easy.
Oh, don't
I'm
even
kidding.
go that route.
I'm kidding. I had to go there. All right.
So-
No, that's great. It's great. That's very good, actually.
That's what I like to hear. So
I feel kind of. This is not that, is it?
no.
Okay. Come on. Keep yapping. Give them a fun fact. I'm going to grab something. Go.
Okay, sure. So in terms of the different types of absinthe, they all have, again, a lot of the same common ingredients, but it's the proportions that are really going to make a difference.
Can you do me a favor? Can you pour me a little bit straight?
You bet. Now we're going hardcore.
You know, hair and I'm just curious of how. That's great. I'm not going to drink the majority of it.
Shoot it down.
Still a great nose, but you know what? I agree with you. I'm shocked right now. I'm just swirling. Maybe see if I'll break it up. But definitely the water and sugar did bring out more nuances on the nose.
Absolutely.
I get far less here.
Well, it's ultra concentrated, which is one of the reasons why we don't normally recommend people shoot it straight or light it on fire, because you're really going to blow out those taste buds. I mean, all of that anise in there will numb your palate.
I can drink, you know, I can drink this stuff.
And this
See,
one
I'm
is,
a huge licorice fan.
Yeah, I am too. This is 60%.
Okay.
All the absinthes will normally range between 50, which is something like that, and
Yeah, let's
72%.
get into that. Let's move on. 50. This is 50%.
Exactly, and that's Obsidio.
And this is 50 bones. And this is the one that we were just seeing a magazine with an ad in it, which you were quoted in. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Now, this is from where?
That is from the Kingdom of Spain.
Spain.
Yes.
Okay.
Same guys who make Barcelona Gin make this one.
And this is kind of more widely distributed, isn't it?
I would say so.
I've seen this brand more often.
They have definitely made a huge marketing push in the
They've done
United
a good
States. And it is a very easy drinking absinthe, too.
Now, this is a little bit more limey and on the nose.
You got it. Yeah, it's
I can smell a couple things here and there.
I thought you might. Yeah, this is from the lemon balm. You get a lot of lemon balm in the coloration, and that's where the citrusy sort of undertones come
Absolutely,
in.
much more. And and a little bit more. This I'm getting the alcohol in the nose a little bit more. Like to me, I almost that scotchy kind of tequila-esque kind of like back end heat spirit play with this lemon thing. Kind of makes me think of tequila a little bit, probably because of the lemon.
Right, exactly,
the lime and the, you know what I mean? Okay.
Lots of different flavors in this one compared to the other.
Yeah, but I'm not sure if I think I like the first one better.
This one, the Genepi over here really does tie a lot of things together. This one's a lot more sort of flavor direct in terms of the anise. And
it's funny you said that. That's a great point. I'm sorry to interrupt you. It does shoot right down. You know how sometimes we talk about a wine being really focused down the middle? I don't pick up as many nuances as I did in the first. Now, I also had that in between. So I'm wondering, but I don't feel super none because I took very little. Because then, as you were saying, I was like, oh, wait, I don't want to shoot my palate for the rest of the show.
Right.
I like it, but I do prefer the first one a little bit more for my palate. Everybody has their own.
This is very traditional sort of Spanish absenta style. Absinthe was never illegal in Spain, and it's been being produced for ages, but it's much more anise heavy. And again, you do get...
This is creamier, too.
Very much so, yeah. And that's
Which
has
I
a lot
like.
to do with the distillation process.
It coats my palate.
It definitely does, yeah. This one's very milky compared to some of the others.
I'm starting to... It's kind of growing on me a little bit. I feel like if there's a version of this that has more nuances with this milkiness, I'm going to be really in.
What you might even want to do then is further water it down a little bit, because that will bring out some more. Yeah.
But then okay, interesting.
Just add a little bit of water,
Yeah,
not a whole lot. But again, it's all to taste. But absinthe, some have different sweet spots.
Are there like some hardcore ninja, like Jedi type guys and gals that are really known for their distilling skills?
Absolutely.
Like, give me a name or two.
Ted Bro is one. He was...
Ted Bro. I mean, that's like the greatest name ever.
Dr. Ted Bro. Yeah. So he's been distilling absinthe for quite a while. He actually based his recipes on Belle Epoque style. So he basically...
Tell everybody what Belle Epoque... Because you've mentioned a couple times.
Yeah.
I don't have a reference point. They for sure don't. Or maybe...
Belle Epoque,
I for sure don't. They may not.
Basically, early 1900s in France, the golden age, basically, of France. What Ted did was he obtained a few bottles that were from that era.
And he bought them at like auction?
There are a few people out there who make their living on finding cellars that have absinthe from the early 1900s.
And where do they sell on websites?
Yeah, typically.
It's like this whole underground thing, right?
Absolutely, you better believe it.
But like before websites, it was like totally like you got the stuff, like
right.
You got the Red Canary. I got the Red Canary.
You got it. But he
that's badass.
He did some scientific analysis and broke down these vintage bottles and figured out.
So he's a science nerd.
He is. Okay. He's a chemist.
Ted Bro.
But then it's
more like
used
Dr.
those.
Ted Bro.
Exactly. Yeah. If you meet him, you know what I'm talking about. No. But he broke those down to figure out what the constituent components were, and then made his absinthe from that. So
I see.
He has one called PF 1901, which is based on.
It's a brand.
Yeah, which is based on Pernod Fils from 1901.
And what does his brand sell for normally?
Depending on the brand, Lucid is one of his sort of segregate brands. That's in the $50 to $60 range. The Jade lines, which are his more the reproductions, run around 100.
Got it. All right, let's move on. We've got a good pace going.
Sounds good to me.
What do we have here?
This is Marto, which is distilled in Oregon.
Okay.
By Nostalgic Spirits.
85 bones?
Yes.
Is that what I'm saying? Okay.
85.
And this was bottled in October.
Yes.
MGS is Nostalgic Spirits? Or?
Gwydion Stone is actually the guy who... he founded the Wormwood Society, but this is his brand as well. He's been doing the Wormwood Society for a little bit over 5 years.
So this is your boss?
You know, I'm a financial advisor by trade. I just do this for fun.
Okay.
But he's actually stepped away from the Wormwood
I'm
Society.
sure a lot of people are like,
more.
wait a minute, what a financial advisor? What are you recommending to get out of these drink more absinthe?
Got to call me. But
go ahead.
Yeah, he's stepped away from the Wormwood Society. Wanted that to be a little bit more of an unbiased resource,
Right,
and he's
so that he could
focusing more
start on
on
this.
Exactly.
He got entrepreneurial.
Yes,
I
very
like
much
that.
so.
All right, let's give it a sniffy sniff. Now this has the biggest nose of the bunch.
Absolutely.
Now this smells almost like a Mexican restaurant. I almost get like jalapeno on the nose.
You get a lot of spiciness with this one, in a good way. You'll see what I mean by the flavor too.
Oh man, this really, really does smell like cilantro meets like jalapeno pepper. I mean, I do get a lot of spiciness on this. And
He uses,
peppers.
he uses a lot of different herbs than some of the other ones do. He uses orris root, for example, which
This
is,
is really good.
from the iris.
Yeah, I really like this. Orris fruit, right? Mm-hmm. Wow, this is great.
Definitely spicier, but again, in a good way for me.
Yeah, almost like if you're talking about from a cough drop standpoint, instead of like that over-the-counter, like it tastes like candy for everybody, $2.99 CVS play, this is like the real serious one. It's usually like a smaller version, and the flavor is so much more intense.
Absolutely.
This really does get Ricola on me. A lot. Whereas there were nuances before, this kind of tastes like it.
Well, that's one of the things that absinthe started out as, is a medicinal.
Sure.
And it still actually will settle your stomach.
That makes Mott very happy. Mott, drink this stuff.
This one's very floral. That's also from the orris, which has a lot of the same sort of flavors as violets. So you get sort of that flowery nose to it.
This is good.
Yeah.
This is good. You know, it's ironic, though. I still think the first one's my favorite. I'm going to go back to it. Maybe it was just that I was excited about it.
The Marto is based, again, on more of a Belle Epoque style. The Vieux Carré, they like to term themselves as Americanizers, and this is sort of an Americanized version of a Belle Epoque style.
You know, it's funny, when you go back from that, though, to that, you start seeing maybe the thinness in this, or,
Right.
you know, as much as complexity was there, this has got so much intensity.
Right. And he prides himself on sort of wrapping all of that into one small package,
This
I guess.
one. I mean, this is very interesting. I mean, this is definitely a beverage that I think, like, you know, wine, root beer, you know, I think this can get into rotation for me. I like it. I mean, this has been a great experience. Oh, whoa.
Ah.
Mott, a secret. I'm scared about this.
You should be. No, I'm kidding.
Tell me about this.
This is a Wormwood Bitters, which I brought this really to demonstrate to you the difference between the flavor profile of a distilled wormwood
Okay.
and a macerated wormwood.
These are all distilled milk.
These are all distilled wormwood, exactly. Macerated wormwood has a much more acrid sort of biting bitterness to it, as opposed to sort of the smooth alpine type of bitterness that you get with distilled wormwood. So one of the things that you want to look for when you're buying absinthe is make sure that you are getting a distilled product, because it will have a completely different flavor profile than a macerated one. So that is your Wormwood Bitters. So it's not an absinthe, but it's
It smells like soap.
yeah. There's a lot of aromatics in there.
Yeah.
But the flavor, you'll
Right?
see what
I mean, this smells like a bathroom. Like,
Yeah.
you know, it really smells like a bathroom to me.
Yeah, it's a liquor that's just stepped out of the shower. Is the way I kind of look at it.
Yeah, I mean, this is almost like Irish Spring. You know,
Right.
like interesting. Like, you know, the soap.
Now, I've watered that down a little bit to make sure you don't get
This is watered down a hair?
a little bit, yeah, about 1 to 1 there. But you'll see what I mean by the bitterness. You get it really in the back of the throat there with the, see? I'm glad you don't have any more tastings after this one.
I mean, this is very soap-like.
It is.
Really quite a bit.
But do you
It
get
also-
that bitterness in the back there?
Let me try it again. I'm like, I mean, I've had things, you know, here's the weird thing. When I go to France, we'll drink wine. It'll be a whole wine buying thing. I buy lots of wine. They're happy with me. And they're like, bring out the stuff. And it's like, you know, it's like 4 in the morning. And it's like a bottle like this. And they're like, Gary, let me see your hair and your chest. And I'm like, I got some. And they're like, no, you need more. You drink this. And it's like, you know, it's like that. You know, I never really, you know, I mean, they could totally poison me. Luckily, I usually know that I'm buying enough that they don't want to get rid of me.
Right.
When I don't buy, I'm like, I'm going to pass it on. Like, hey, we still love you, Gary. Can you bring out Gary the button? I'm like, I'm not drinking that. You know? But that's where, you know, it's very rooty and green. You know, it just feels like you're drinking the earth.
Absolutely.
You know?
And
So this is more like that than those.
Absolutely, yeah. That's that is basically taking a tea bag of herbs and soaking it in alcohol. You see what I mean by sort of that twang there? Definitely a completely different flavor profile. Yep.
Orange, a little bit of orange play on the back of, like an orange peel on the back of the palate.
And that's some of the other herbs that are in that Wormwood Bitters. But mainly the difference between the two, again, is...
And Wormwood, we didn't completely break that down.
Wormwood is one of the... Basically an herb. Yeah,
it's just an herb. Okay, I just wanted to...
almost
I knew
a
that we
shrubbery
didn't hit,
type.
Yeah, we didn't hit on that for anybody.
So, it's not worm-eaten wood. It's actually a
I just
plant.
wanted to kind of... oh, that's interesting.
Yeah.
I like it.
It'll sit in the back of your throat for
ages. These are really
but...
great after-dinner drinks. Especially, this was actually more my style.
That would definitely be a little bit more on the after-dinner type of style, yeah.
Whereas this is, you're right. And so what about this? I mean, you can buy this by the bottle?
Not yet. That's one that is going through approval right now. It's sort of a prototype that one of the other liquor
So this is
manufacturers...
kind of illegal in a weird way?
It's a prototype, so it's not illegal, but it's... no, I got some stuff for you.
Spain, Texas.
Yeah, exactly. So, this absinthe was predominantly drank as an aperitif. So you get the juices flowing in the stomach and let things work their magic while you're eating. That one, you probably do a little bit more after dinner.
Yeah, to allow you to be able to go to sleep.
You got it. Yeah.
This was great, man. This was Mott, did you like this? I'm so into this. And remember, at the end of this, after he asks the question of the day, you've got 4 minutes of exclusive... Did you talk while you were preparing it?
Yes, we explained the whole process.
Awesome.
No fire. That's the one thing you need to remember. No fire.
No fire.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
My pleasure. Thanks for
question of the day. Fire away.
Question of the day. What country has the longest coastline?
Wow! You! With a little bit of me, we are changing the absinthe world.
So Brian's going to show us a little bit about the preparation process for this absinthe to get it in the condition where you're supposed to taste it.
Okay, so technically to start with, you'll want something, a water vessel like a traditional absinthe fountain like what we have here, or water jug would work just fine. A lot of people who don't want to spend the money on getting the absinthe accessories can just use an ice water filled sports bottle. A lot of people do that too. Then we've got your traditional absinthe spoon and a sugar cube. You will put about an ounce worth of absinthe in your glass, place the spoon on top of the glass, sugar cube on top of the spoon, and then slowly start your drip, which will then soak the sugar. The sugar will dissolve into the absinthe. The whole idea behind the sugar cube is to sweeten the drink a little bit because wormwood tends to be slightly bitter, so this will help to round out the flavors a little bit, make it a nice sweet aperitif. So that is your typical absinthe preparation. A lot of people are under the assumption that you would light the sugar cube on fire after it's been soaked with absinthe. That is a popular misconception. This is the traditional method that was being used during the Belle Epoque in France when absinthe was at its heyday.
And how long does this process usually take?
You can get a good louche, which is what you see here. The louche is the term for when the absinthe turns cloudy. You can get a good one in a couple of minutes. Some of the more experienced absintheurs, I guess you would say, tend to like to make that 5 or 7 minutes, just the ritual of the preparation, but you can get a good louche in just a couple of minutes.
Now, we're not supposed to be doing any sort of a dance or
any
kind of rituals.
No rain dance or anything like that. We've got the snow and rain already, so we don't need to do that now. So, but that is your typical preparation.
Right on. And did the spoons themselves vary a little bit in their... I see these are a little bit different, but kind of the same in terms of the holes.
Absolutely. You've got literally dozens of different types of spoons. The major feature is just that it's wide enough to fit a sugar cube over top, and that you've got slots in there to be able to let the sugar dissolve and fall into the absinthe. There are also things like grills, which basically just fit over the top. It doesn't look like a spoon, it just looks like just a round piece of metal with slots on it, and that works just as fine too. I tend to like the spoons a little bit more because they are shaped as a spade, so you can use it then to stir the absinthe when it's done to make sure all the sugar is dissolved in there.
Okay. Very cool. And you were showing me something with a simple syrup a little bit earlier.
Exactly. For people who are on the move or who don't want to use sugar, you can add simple syrup instead, which is basically going to give you the same effect, just simplifies the process, especially in bars where they might be pressed for time to prepare a traditional glass of absinthe. That's a great way to do the same thing.
And in that case, would you serve it over ice, or do you just sort of go with the flow? Just
go with the flow. An absinthe served with ice typically is a variation on an absinthe frappe. You would normally just drink it straight as it is right now. But the simple syrup, again, is just an easier way to get the sugar quickly dissolved. It's a great way for bartenders to do it quickly.
You start calling it frappe, Starbucks is going to get involved, and then we're not going to need a Wormwood Education Society anymore.
Right, exactly. The absinthe frappe has been around much longer than Starbucks, so so we're all right there.
Right on. Well, we are preparing 3 different absinthes for Brian to taste with Gary, and we'll see how they show through, and hopefully it'll be fun.